Simone Carter pressed the baby monitor's volume button until the static faded to a whisper, then slid her teacup aside and leaned into the bedroom window. From her second-floor perch, she had the perfect view of the backyard behind her house and the man who occupied it daily like it was a job. He was digging again. The first week looked like standard yard work, the second pouring concrete. By the third, he was welding rebar into a sunken, box-like structure, part bunker, part tomb, too reinforced for a shed, too strange for a pool, and much too secretive. His wife, or whoever she was, had only appeared twice, once to carry tools, the other to bring water. Both times her presence flickered like a shadow under threat, shoulders hunched, gaze downcast. Simone had spent 8 years as a detective, 4 more as a PI, and the last 6 months as a mother. The transition had dulled her edge, but not her instincts. Something about that woman screamed danger, and something about that man screamed predator. She could see it in the structure. Windowless, low ceiling, thick steel door with a sliding bolt mounted on the outside. Not normal, not right. She stood and crossed the room to her daughter's bassinet. The baby slept with her fists tucked under her chin, the way Simone used to sleep before she knew what men could do behind locked doors. Simone stroked her daughter's cheek, then whispered, "Mommy's just going to be neighborly." The next day she baked banana bread. Nothing too sweet, just warm enough to suggest friendship and subtle enough to carry a hidden agenda. She carried it next door wearing a fake smile and a mental checklist. The husband answered, tall, pale, civil in the way that made her stomach knot. "Oh, how sweet," he said, stepping halfway out the door. "You'll have to forgive my wife. She's not used to visitors." The woman emerged behind him like smoke, thin and frail. Her smile stopped at her lips. Her eyes were glassy, skittish, already retreating. She winced when Simone extended the loaf, like it might bite her. "You okay?" Simone asked, lowering her voice. The woman's eyes flicked to her husband, then down. "Yes, thank you. So kind." Simone knew that voice. She'd heard it behind two-way mirrors and in the backs of ambulances. Hollow, programmed, afraid. Simone forced a smile, the loaf still in her hands. "Well," she said, backing a step, "just thought I'd welcome you both. We're right around the block if you need anything." The woman nodded faintly, already disappearing behind the door. The man lingered a moment longer, his eyes unreadable. "Appreciate the kindness, but we're both allergic to nuts. Thanks for stopping by." Then he shut the door with a softness that somehow felt louder than a slam. Simone was placing the banana bread on the kitchen counter when she heard the garage door rumble open. A moment later, James stepped in. Tie loosened, sleeves rolled, briefcase slung low. He looked tired, the way all men do when they're coming home to a life they didn't quite build, but settled into. "Smells good," he said, kissing her cheek. "Tell me you baked it for me?" Not exactly," she replied. He raised an eyebrow. "Neighborly peace offering?" She nodded, drying her hands on a dish towel. "I went next door." James raised his eyebrow again. "You what?" "I brought them banana bread. The guy and his wife. Just thought I'd say hi." His face shifted. The wariness cracked and something sharper slipped through. "Simone, no." "I didn't break into the house, James. I knocked on the door like a normal human being." "Simone, please. You've been watching them like you're back on the force, like it's a stakeout or something." "Well, someone needs to, James. That guy's building a prison in his backyard. And his wife? She looks like she sleeps with one eye open." James set his briefcase down hard enough to rattle the counter. "This again? You promised me you'd leave this kind of thing alone." Simone crossed her arms, jaw tight. "I promised I'd stay home with the baby. I didn't promise to stop being who I am." He sighed and looked away. "This is just like when you were on the force. You couldn't let go of that politician case, even when they told you to stand down. That's why you got fired." "I quit," she said through gritted teeth. "No, Simone, they pushed you out. They couldn't handle that I was right, James." "No," he said. "They couldn't handle that you didn't know when to shut up and stop digging. Then you went private and we had to drain our savings when you got sued by that real estate creep? Simone's lips went white. She didn't move. And now? I finally get promoted? We're good. We're stable. You get to stay home with her. Something not every mom gets, by the way. And you're still up at that window like it's a stakeout. You're not a cop anymore. Simone looked at him for a long moment, then past him to the baby monitor blinking quietly on the counter. Her voice was quiet but firm. James, I'm still me. He exhaled in frustration but said nothing. You married someone who doesn't let go. My instincts, my eyes, they don't turn off just because I'm holding a diaper bag. There's something going on over there, James. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find out. 2 days had passed since she offered the bread. She tried to take her husband's advice and let it go, but she couldn't. He was away at work, and she saw an opportunity to get more information. Simone buckled the baby into the car seat, her fingers trembling just a little. The baby cooed softly, unaware of the storm rising. She started the engine and tailed the neighbor's car out of the quiet subdivision, keeping a cautious distance. He drove deliberately, calm, controlled. He turned off the highway and into the city's darker heart, a district Simone barely recognized. He pulled up outside of a squat, unmarked building with a black metal door and a small red light blinking above it. She pulled out her phone, quickly searching the address. The place was a known BDSM and swingers club. A chill ran down her spine. She watched from the driver's seat as the man disappeared inside. Minutes passed. When he emerged, he carried a heavy canvas bag slung over one shoulder. The weight pulled him down slightly, the fabric taut against something solid and bulky. Simone's pulse quickened. She started the engine to follow, but the streets became a tangle. Traffic surged. He slipped through lanes, disappearing into the city's snarled veins. She cursed under her breath. He lost me. Turning back toward home, she passed the neighbor's street. His car was already in the driveway. Her stomach tightened. As she slowed, the front door of the house opened, and the man stepped out, steadying the frail woman beside him. They climbed into the car and pulled away without noticing her. Simone wanted to follow, but the baby's soft whimper changed her mind. No, not now. This isn't the time, she thought. Back at home, she carried the sleeping baby inside, laid her gently in the crib, and checked the live baby monitor feed on her phone. Her fingers pulled out the lockpicks buried in her nightstand drawer. Then she tiptoed out the front door. Simone scurried to the neighbor's side yard fence and peered over into the backyard, but could not see around the corner of the house. Jumping the fence would be easy enough, but would draw too much attention. She retrieved her lockpicking set from her jeans pocket and went to work. The padlock on the gate didn't stand a chance. She peeked around the corner of the house where the concrete cage loomed, its steel door bolted tight with the feeding slot glinting in the sunlight. Her instinct screamed, "This is no ordinary fetish. This is a prison." She slipped back home, surprised to see her husband in the bedroom waiting for her. He sat on the bed, arms crossed, anger sharp in his eyes. "You left the baby alone?" he said quietly. "Sneaking into someone else's house?" Simone swallowed hard. "I had to know." His jaw tightened. "This obsession isn't just dangerous for you, Simone. It's dangerous for her." The baby cried softly behind them. Simone looked down at the crib. "I'm not stopping." James shook his head. "Then you have to decide what matters more." "I'm taking her to my parents' house while you figure this out. Don't worry. I'm going to tell them that it's mommy's night out and that you're out with some girlfriends." Simone's wife instincts told her to argue, but her investigator instincts told her it was an opportunity. Simone bought them years ago when she was a private investigator. They were tiny little bastards, those cameras, micro-thin, with just enough resolution to catch a murder if it happened slow. It was the kind of device you could stick in a tree knot and forget about. Amazon had them, of course. Amazon has everything. The moon was hanging crooked in the sky, casting the kind of light that makes things look fake, too clean, too quiet. She wore black from neck to boots, the kind of outfit that would make her neighbors call the cops if they saw her, but of course they didn't. She crossed the lawn and climbed the neighbor's fence like she'd done 1,000 times in her mind. Simone Carter was a woman with a past, and her past had lockpicking sets and bruised knuckles. The yard was silent. The grass smelled freshly cut. She moved fast, planting the cameras like seeds. One on a low-hanging branch, one tucked near the rain gutter, two facing the concrete structure that loomed like a mausoleum. She tripped the motion light. It buzzed on with a click, like a starter pistol, and threw the yard into a stark white daylight. Her breath caught in her throat. Above her, a rusted wind chime began to sing. Simone froze, listened. Nothing. The house stayed dark. The door didn't open. That man, didn't appear. She bolted, left the last camera half anchored in a hanging planter, scaled the fence with her pulse in her teeth, got home with mud on her hands and a tightness behind her eyes that felt like the start of a migraine, or a truth trying to break loose. For 2 days, the camera showed nothing, just shadows, birds, the occasional leaf floating by like it was on assignment. The structure in the neighbor's yard didn't move. No one went in, no one came out. And yet the thing waited. Simone knew that kind of stillness, the stillness of a room that knows it's going to hurt someone. James and the baby were back, but things were not okay. He didn't ask what she was watching on her phone for the past couple of nights. He didn't want to know. She almost deleted the surveillance app. Almost. Then came the moon. Not just any moon. The moon. Big, round, yellow, white, like a jaundiced eye. It stared down through the blinds as Simone lay awake at 1 a.m. Something inside her chest felt like a spider was walking across her heart. She opened the app. Live feed. Nothing. Yard still empty. Concrete bunker quiet. But she didn't believe it. You don't do what Simone's done in her life and trust the present. She rewound the feed. Midnight. 10. 8. Then she found it. 7:14 p.m. There he was, the man, carrying that same canvas bag, slung over his shoulder like a soldier marching off to war. Behind him, the wife, moved like a wind-up doll, stiff with no emotion, small jerky steps, head hung low. They reached the door. He opened it. She went in. And then, nothing. Darkness. 8:02 p.m. He came out alone, calm, quiet, wiped his hands on a cloth, locked the door with care, the way you lock a kennel. Simone paused the video, zoomed, squinted. No sign of her. No sign of what was inside. Just a door, a bolt, and a moon overhead that watched it all happen. Simone pulled the hoodie tighter around her head and slipped out the sliding glass door. Her shoes crunched softly in the grass as she crossed her backyard, her eyes fixed on the fence like it was the final checkpoint in a mission. The neighbor's house loomed ahead, a shadow swallowed in the moonlight. The bunker sat in the middle of the yard like a forgotten tomb, quiet and waiting. Simone climbed the fence, wincing as the wood creaked beneath her weight. She dropped to the other side in a crouch, heart hammering against her ribs. From this angle, the structure looked even worse. Not a room, not a shed, a vault. And she was going to crack it. She crept toward the thick metal door, knelt beside the lock, and pulled her kit from her pocket. Click, scratch, twist. She was close. She could feel the pin shifting. Just one more. Clink. The pick slipped from her fingers and vanished into the grass. No, 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 she whispered, dropping to all fours, sweeping her hands across the dirt and weeds. She thought her fingertips brushed something thin and metal. Floom! The motion lights burst to life. A spotlight cut across the yard, slicing her in half. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then she heard the screen door slam. Hey! The man's voice roared. She turned just in time to see him charging down the porch stairs, bare feet pounding the grass, eyes wide with rage. Simone spun around, grabbed the first thing she could find, a shovel leaning against a half-dug mound of dirt. As he lunged for her, she swung. Crack! Steel met skull. He dropped like a stone. Breathing hard, Simone stood over him, shovel trembling in her hands. Her whole body felt like it was buzzing. She looked down at the mound of dirt, then at the man unconscious and sprawled like a broken doll. No time. She fell to her knees and found the lockpick glinting in the grass. Fingers steadier now. She jammed it into the lock. Click. The door creaked open. The structure was cold and damp. Cement walls swallowed the light. She blinked, adjusting to the darkness, and then saw it. A body, lying flat on its back in the center of the room. Simone stepped inside, her breath catching in her throat. The figure didn't move. Not bound with rope, not handcuffed, but restrained. Wrapped head to toe in heavy black leather. Buckles, straps, and thick chains looped over the arms, chest, and legs like an exoskeleton. The suit was custom, industrial, inescapable, like a full-body straitjacket made for a monster. A thick leather hood covered the head, with no visible eyes. A metal ball gag gleamed where the mouth should have been, strapped tight and locked in place. Simone took a slow step back. She remembered the BDSM club and the bruises she had assumed were abuse. But this wasn't kink. This was containment. Simone dropped to her knees beside the woman's motionless body. The leather straps were tight, too tight, buckled at the wrists, elbows, shoulders, thighs, and ankles. Heavy chain links were cinched around her chest and stomach, padlocked in place. The thick black leather glistened in the cold light like some kind of body armor made for hell itself. Simone pulled a small tension wrench from her pocket. Her fingers were shaking, but her breath had steadied. Years of muscle memory returned. Click, snap, rattle. One by one, the locks gave way. The chest, the arms, the thighs, the ankles. The suit creaked as she peeled it back. She reached the hood, the final piece. It was buckled and latched under the chin and behind the skull, the leather stiff and unforgiving. The gag was bolted into a thick metal ring at the base of the mask. She struggled with the mechanism, fingers slipping against the cold steel. "Come on," she whispered. "Come on, come on!" Clink. The buckle snapped open. She pulled the hood off. The woman's face was slick with sweat, her mouth red and raw around the steel ball. Her eyes were closed. She looked peaceful, almost childlike. Simone unstrapped the gag and let it drop. Then she pressed 2 fingers to the woman's neck. A pulse. She leaned in. Her ear hovered just over the chest. A breath. Barely. Then the moon came out. Big, brilliant, merciless. The cloud slid away like a veil lifting off an executioner's face. And that's when it started. A sound escaped the woman's throat, wet and guttural, like a drowning gasp and a snarl had a baby. Her spine arched. Her fingers clawed at the air. Her ribs expanded with an audible pop, pop, pop as bone cracked from within. Simone scrambled back, her mouth open but voiceless. She watched in paralyzed horror as the woman's legs twisted, muscles ballooning beneath the skin. Her knees reversed, her toenails split and blackened, turning into hooked claws that scratched against the concrete. The arms went next, longer, thicker, fur bristling out like rot blooming on flesh, fingers elongated, bones splitting like twigs, her neck stretched with a sickening crack, jaws widening, reshaping, teeth pushing past lips as her nose caved into a snout. The eyes opened, no longer human, yellow, glowing, pure, feral hunger. Simone wanted to run, to scream, to fight, but she couldn't. For the first time in her life, no badge, no backup, no gun, no control. She froze. The creature lunged. In one blink, it was halfway across the room, jaws wide, claws outstretched, inches from her throat. "Move!" A hand grabbed her by the back and hoodie and yanked her hard, so hard her feet left the ground. She tumbled backward, out of the doorway, hitting the grass with a thud as the husband shut the door. Boom! The beast slammed into the inside of the door, shaking the metal frame so violently it rang like a church bell. Simone rolled onto her side just in time to see the man shove the door closed with his entire body, his muscles straining against the force trying to break out. The door thudded again. Another blow from inside. He reached to the side, grabbed the heavy locking bar, and slid it into place, metal screeching against metal until it clicked into the brackets. Locked, sealed, the thing inside shrieked, then threw itself against the door once more, but the door held. Simone lay in the dirt, heart trying to escape her chest, as the husband dropped to his knees beside the structure, breathing like he had just outrun death. Because he had, and now, so had she. They sat in the grass for a long time. Neither spoke. The sounds from inside the bunker quieted, still there, but slower now, breathing, pacing, waiting for the moon to pass. Simone stared at the door, her hands shaking in her lap, her clothes damp with sweat and dirt. Finally, she turned to him. "What is she?" The husband didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed on the concrete. "She's my wife." Simone waited, but that was all he gave. "I don't know how it happened," he said eventually, voice low, "and I stopped trying to fix it a long time ago. She didn't ask for this. She didn't want it, but I love her. And if anyone finds out, authorities, doctors, the government, she won't be a person to them. She'll be a thing, a weapon, or dead." He ran a hand through his hair, still staring at the bunker. "I couldn't let that happen, so I built her this, to keep her safe, to keep everyone safe." Simone nodded, slow and quiet. She had spent weeks convincing herself he was a monster. But monsters don't build prisons out of love. The next morning, Simone deleted the surveillance app. She made coffee before James got out of bed. When he walked into the kitchen, holding their daughter, she kissed him on the cheek and said, "I missed you." They didn't talk about the distance, the silence, or the way she had vanished from their life for a while. He didn't ask. She started going on walks again, started smiling more. Sometimes at night, she'd look out the window to the neighbor's yard. The structure loomed somewhere behind the trees. No movement, just shadows and stillness. But now, she understood it. It wasn't a prison. It was a promise, and Simone had her own to keep.